Good morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Mindset Monday. I am happy that you are here, and I'm happy to be here. Today is a continuation from our conversation last week. So, last week we talked about how to hire a manager or what to look for when we are promoting a manager from within. If you didn't have a chance to listen to that Mindset Monday, I would recommend that after today or after you listen to this, if you're tuning in later, that you go back to last week's Mindset Monday and listen to that. And the two of these episodes combined will paint a little bit more of a whole picture as we get into leadership. So I just want to say good morning to my friends that are joining in. It's great to see you. I see my friends on Facebook and Instagram. Happy Monday. Yeah, so here we are. Okay, guys, you requested it, and I'm going to deliver. Whenever you guys ask me to talk about a topic, which I love, so then I don't have to sit here and wonder if what I'm going to talk about is relevant to you. So I love when there's requests. I take requests. And so it was requested that I talk about managers' compensation. And so here we are today. So I have three main points today that I want to talk about with respect to manager compensation. And when I hired my very first manager, which was about 5 years after I opened my business, and when I first opened my business, and I know that you guys that are business owners can totally relate to this. When you first open your business, you're the everything. You're the cleaner, the educator, the manager, the firefighter, the meeting with the reps, the doing inventory, the making the decisions. You are the everything. And you're probably the busiest person in there, and you have a whole book of clients, whatever you're doing, massage therapy, whether you're doing hairdressing, whether you're doing nails, skin, whatever that is. And I was that person. I was doing everything. Now, my mom and I were business partners, so she ran the front desk. So I did have support on that front, but literally, she was really new to this industry. And so I was the person doing everything. And because I was so busy working in my business, and I know you guys have heard this slogan before, if you're so busy working in your business, it's hard to work on your business and be a visionary when you are a firefighter day in and day out. So I really wanted to work on growing my company, and it was hard to do that when all I wanted to do when I got home was go to sleep because I was exhausted. So about 5 years into ownership, I decided to hire a manager, which was a long process. But the question becomes, that I hear a lot is how do you pay a manager? And to me, that's the wrong first question. The wrong first question is, how much do I pay a manager? The right first question that you should be asking yourself is, can I afford to pay a manager? That should be the very first question. And the answer to the question, how much should I pay a manager, like most topics in leadership, is super layered because different managers in different businesses take care of different things. So it's hard to say, well, this one should be paid 40,000 a year and this one should be paid 50 and 60 and 70 and 80. I can't give you a blanket answer. So if you're looking for a blanket answer, you're not going to get that today. But what you are going to get is some ideas on good morning. Cooler heads prevail. Good to see you, Tanya Jones. Love to see you, Aileen, Renee, Ginger. Good to see you guys. What you will hear from me today on this topic, how do you compensate a manager, is let's work through first, can we afford to have a manager? And what can we afford to pay that manager? So I'm going to go over that today. The second thing that I'm going to go over is salary and benefits. And these are all ideas. This is like a guideline. This isn't me telling you what you should pay because I haven't consulted your profit and loss statement, which is the first thing I'm going to recommend. You consult before you are paying anybody for anything. And the third thing that I'm going to talk about today is bonus structures to integrate into number two, which is salary and benefits. So let's get started with my first topic. And hi, Tanya, good to see you. I want to also throw out there that if you guys have questions, throw them into the comments. So I love the back and forth banter so that I'm here for you. I'm here for you to get what you need out of this. So if you have questions, ask. And also, I love participation. So if you want to throw in the comments things that are working for you and not working for you, or a point that you thought was really valuable, please also do that so that I know that there's warm bodies out there. All right. So let's start with number one, which should be the number one question that you ask yourself if you are looking to promote from within to a leadership position, or you're looking to hire a manager, which is, can I afford to pay a manager? Remember that this is needs to be somebody that's taking things off of your plate. They are going to be somebody that you can take a lot of the things that you're doing and pass over to this new person so that this becomes a valuable asset. This person's a valuable asset that is going to be working with you to free time up for you to be working on your business. If you want to do all of the things and you're not willing to let go of that control, and you want to do the inventory, and you want to do the scheduling, and you want to do the firefighting, and you want to take care of all the client issues and the staffing issues and every single thing that has to do with owning a business, then maybe you hire somebody to be your visionary, to work on the business, moving the business forward. But somebody has to move the business forward. So if you are bogged down, you want to look at how can I delegate some of the things that I'm doing in order for me to free up some of my mind space and my time during the day so that I can work on creating this future that I dreamt of when I decided to open my business to begin with. And that takes work and it takes time. So step one, can I afford to pay a manager? If you're just jumping in, we are talking about how to compensate managers. All right, it's layered. So I'm going to give you a few layers. They're recommendations. Nothing I ever tell you is written in stone. Almost nothing. I might have a few things that I feel pretty strongly about, but this is one of them. Asking yourself, can I afford to hire a manager? So those of you that know me know that I pretty much run my life and my business, or I did run my salon businesses. I don't own them anymore because I sold them this year, if you didn't know. But every decision that we made was, good morning, Con. Every decision that we made was based on, can we afford to make this decision, especially big ones, not like, can I afford to go to the store and get, paper towels? This is a salary, potentially, or an hourly that is going to take up and take from whatever profitability that you currently have. So I guess the first question would be is, do you have profit? Because that is where this position is going to be paid from. Okay. So for those of you that follow me and know me, I speak in benchmarks or KPIs, key performance indicators. And today is going to be no different. So this first little nugget that I'm going to throw out with you is, your manager, or what you're paying a manager, whether they are a stylist or a technician and you're going to pay them additional to be a manager, or they're going to be a part of your front desk team, to which I call our sales support team. So our sales support team would be front desk, people answering the phones, helping the clients when they're walking in, So your manager will either be a part of that sales support team, and this is in my eyes, or they will be somebody that is a stylist that's taking on a management role. But either way, the compensation for that role, the additional compensation for that role, will live under the line item on your profit and loss statement, sales support and management. And your sales support team and manager's compensation as a whole should not exceed more than 8% of your total sales. Total sales, for those of you that are just kind of wrapping your head around that, is your service that's brought in and the retail, anything you're making off retail. And when you add those two together, that's what we consider total sales. Okay. So when you think about 8%, and you think about, okay, well, I have an 8% budget to pay for my guest relations, which is my front desk, which we call on our P&L, usually sales support team. So I have 8% to pay my sales support team and a manager. So let's just kind of think about the math for that for a minute. If I'm doing $100,000 a month, I'm just throwing out easy math for my spontaneous talk today. If we're doing $100,000 a month, that would give us $8,000 a month. If I'm going to have a manager, if there's no manager, it should be 6%, not 8%. If you're just having your guest relations, or your sales support team should take up 6% of your total sales. So if you don't have a manager, you can allocate 6% of your total sales. So if you're doing $100,000 for the month, that's $6,000 in payroll that you can allocate for your front desk or your sales support team. If you're going to add a manager to the mix, you can increase that budget by 2%. So now we're looking at an 8% budget for your sales support team and your manager. So if you're doing $100,000 a month, that's going to give you what? $8,000 a month to compensate your whole front desk team or sales support team plus a manager. And when you think about how many hours are you open during the week, how many people do you need? And in my eyes, that manager, if they're part of the sales support team, they are taking shifts at the front desk. They are working there almost full time, at least 32 hours a week. Maybe they have some time for office time also, maybe even 35 hours a week, and they have 5 hours a week for office time, which also could be generous depending on what they do. So you could say, well, my new manager is going to be 40 hours a week at the front, and they're going to manage. So that would take up one whole shift. And then with any additional shifts that you have that you need to cover your hours for the week, that whole compensation of that whole department should not exceed, with a manager, more than 8% of your total sales. So again, and I'm going to say this for those of you that are just jumping in, we're talking about managers' compensation, that instead of throwing out there, and I know I always bring this up, but it is like literally a thorn in my side when I see on these owners forums, how much do you pay a manager? How much do you pay your staff? What commission do you pay your staff? It just is like, I'm going to practice my yoga breath, because it's such a layered question. I mean, what can you afford? Nobody knows what you can afford based on your current expenses. They just don't. And we don't know this either based on your current expenses. If 8% is even the golden number for you, if you have a really high occupancy rate, which is your rent, and you have very high other expenses, maybe you're paying your staff too much and it's exceeding more than 45% of your service dollars, you might not be able to afford 8%. So 8% is a guide if your other benchmarks are in check. Not just like, so if somebody's asking on some forum, what do you pay a manager? Okay. And somebody's like, well, I pay a manager this some certain amount, but in the meantime, you're paying your staff 50%. Your rent is 15% of your total revenue. There's a really good chance you are not going to have 8% to pay a manager. So I want this to be a responsible conversation around what it is that you can afford based on your sales, based on your other expenses, and what your P&L is telling you. I've said this for 20 years, and I'm going to say it until the day I'm not doing this anymore, which I don't even know when that'll be, because I plan on preaching this preach for a long time. Our numbers tell a story, and they tell a story about how we run our business. If we are over budget in a bunch of areas, then we don't maybe even have a budget, and we're not looking at how each decision we make every single day in our business, whether it's running to the beauty supply, buying your staff lunch, taking people out, overspending with inventory because you don't have a budget based on what you sold last week. You may not be able to afford the things that you want. So we need to get our shit together and our budgets together so that we can make really good decisions and get the help that we need. If you need help with that, it is one of my specialties. You can reach out to me and we can do a session even just on your finances, let alone going through and untangling your finances to see if you can afford that 8% that I'm recommending for a manager. So, okay. Thoughts on this so far? So I know the big question is, how do you compensate a manager? But I had to go off on a tangent. Then can I even afford to pay a manager? So that's step one. All right. So thoughts on that? Throw me some comments. Step two, I'm going to assume that you will all do this. If you are going to think about promoting or hiring a manager. So I'm going to say, once you consult your profit and loss statement and make sure that you have funds to indeed hire a manager, and that the money that it's going to take that will not be dropping to the bottom line, at least for a little while, you're okay letting go of that because you're getting your time back, replacing the payroll that you're putting out. So everything is a decision too, based on what is it worth to me? Is it worth giving up my profit? If there's profit to give up, is it worth it? So that I could have my time and that I could work on my business instead of being in my business. It's like, is it worth it giving up a day a week of me doing services to be able to lead and manage my business in a different way? If the answer is no, then you need to get somebody to do that. All these things, we need to consult our financials to make sure if indeed and how and what we need to be making in order to be making these decisions. All right, so step one, can I even afford to hire a manager? You'll know that when you consult your profit and loss, or you contact me and we go through your financials together and we can make an informed decision. Step two, salary and benefits. So I want to kind of throw some context down here. When we're talking about whether you are going to pay somebody a salary, whether you're going to pay somebody hourly, a lot of people, and this goes for when we're paying our staff, a lot of people say things like, I'll pay you $25 an hour to manage, or I'm going to pay you 40%, 45%, or 50%. And we are discounting what we offer by talking that way. I don't want to use the word dumbing ourselves down, but I want to elevate the conversation by speaking in terms of a compensation package. Instead of, I'm going to give you this much an hour, or I'm going to pay you this much commission, I would rather say, let's talk about your compensation package and everything that entails. To me, that's an elevated way to speak to adults that are looking for a job. And I will tell you, for those of you that have worked outside our industry, when you're interviewing and talking to companies, corporations about compensation, they're speaking in compensation packages. And what is the value of the compensation package for this specific job? And I think we need to get there instead of minimizing what people are being paid. Right? So if I was hiring for a job And I didn't include in my compensation package what we pay for healthcare, and maybe we pay for an allocation for phone, and maybe there is an education fund, and maybe there are bonuses. Well, what is the value of the whole compensation package? That's all compensation. What if there's education involved in your education? You can put a value on your education that they're going to every single week. What is the value of the compensation package? And that's what I want to elevate the conversation to. So the first thing is, can I even afford to hire a manager? The second thing is salary or hourly and benefits. And so I can't tell you what to pay in hourly or if you're choosing to do salary. And you should look in your specific state. If you pay someone salary, a lot of times in certain states, and I know in California, it's like this, and it is because we're extra here. There's a minimum amount that you have to pay if you're going to pay salary for certain positions. So before you decide whether you're going to pay hourly or salary, you need to, not that I would love you to, you need to consult your, what's legal in your state. So, but however you choose to pay, whether it's hourly or salary, I want you to add all the other benefits that your company offers and put a price tag on those offerings so that you can speak in terms of your total annual compensation package is this, and this is what it includes. Does that make sense? Tell me about how you're feeling about that. Hey, Derek, glad you joined. Good topic, right? So that's number two when we're doing hourly or salary. Again, I'm going to repeat for those of you guys that are just coming in. Our managers' salary, hourly, or bonuses, or however you're going to be paying, is going to go on the line item on your profit and loss statement under sales support and managers. It should not exceed more than 8% of your total revenue. If we think, I talked about this in monthly, if we're making $100,000 a year, but if you're bringing in $1 million a year in your business, it gives you an $80,000 allocation of funds to pay for everybody at your front desk, plus your manager. So again, staying inside your KPIs or your benchmarks is going to be critical to your sustainability, long-term sustainability, and your profitability month over month. So for somebody that's a newer manager, I talked last week, and I want you to go back and listen to the last week's episode if you didn't already. If you are promoting from within and you're starting somebody off at a smaller job to see, maybe they're an assistant lead, and then they're a lead, and then they're an assistant manager, and then they're a manager, right? I really feel that that is the best way to go when we are moving people up the ranks. And even when we're hiring from outside, they start at the most bottom rung to learn your company, learn your culture, so that they could move up with confidence and you're setting them up to win. So again, I can't give you hourly or salary because every state is going to be different. But we can have a conversation a little bit deeper if you want to reach out and book a session. I can help brainstorm some of those things with you to come up with a creative way to compensate people. So that's my thought on salary and bonuses, on salary and benefits. My third talking point today are bonuses. And I love to talk about bonuses because bonuses are a huge part of compensation, and they have been in our company. And if somebody has a base hourly or a base salary, and they're a manager or a leader in my company, my expectation is that they're producing. They are producing in different ways. They're producing in how we handle answering calls and cross promoting. They have a hand in how our guest relations team sells retail to elevate the sales, cross promotes people on the phone or when clients are walking in. there could be systems created that our manager could increase our sales, right? They maybe are great salespeople, which is why last week, if you'll listen into last week's episode, I talked about one of the things I look for when I'm hiring somebody in a leadership role is that they have sales history. They've worked in a cosmetic counter. They've done sales because they're not afraid to put themselves out there. So bonuses are a great way for people to stay focused on two potential areas in your business. One is overall sales. Okay. And that, so you could do bonuses on service, you could do bonuses on retail. And the bonuses that I would recommend that you focus on in those areas would be an increase over last year in the same month. So if we're in September now, I'd say, well, what were your sales in September of last year? And then increase it 10%, 15%, whatever your goals are. And then somebody could get bonused off of the increase in sales. The other thing that we've bonused on before that I think is really important, and these are critical systems and practices in our business that have to be running. And if you have a good manager and a good leader, they're going to ensure they're running, and you'll bonus them as an incentive to ensure that they're running. Your pre-booking systems. So if your pre-book is 70% and over and you can maintain that, I will bonus you as a leader. That means that you are making sure that every client that comes in, 70% of those clients are rescheduled into the future. I'm okay bonusing you on that. Yes, I am. If you're a leader and you're in charge of team morale, you're in charge of connecting with the team, you're in charge of touchdowns or coaching or whatever you want to call it, I will bonus you on staff retention. That if my staff is being retained 70 to 75% year over year over year, because you are so connected in with the team that they want to work for you and stay working here, that you are on their side, that you are elevating them, that you have their back and they don't want to go anywhere else, I will bonus you for that. I will bonus you for retention. You and I both know that if we don't have a high staff retention, we cannot grow our business. We cannot grow our sales. If you have a high turnover, your sales are in the toilet. Period. End of story. You know it and I know it. I've been doing this for 32 plus years. And when we have retention year over year, and I think I may have talked about this in one of my lives. I mean, in one of our locations, over a third of the staff have been with us for 10 years or more. Out of 30 people, over half the staff have been with us 5 years or more. It takes that to grow a business. So if you're the manager should be in charge of retaining the team and keeping them pumped up and keeping them going, I will bonus you for that. Con said bonuses on pre-book, new guest count, back bar percentage, team retention, and sales. Yes, Con. I'm going to just say yes, 1000%, which brings me to my next point about bonuses. Some people are not tracking their back bar. For us, it was important to be under 6% of our service sales for back bar. We now are at about 4.5%, but we were not always. But we started, if I have a manager that is in charge of ordering and doing the inventory, and you're keeping my sales under 5 or 6% for my back bar percentage of my sales, my service sales, I will bonus you. Because I got news for you. If you're saving me 5%, 7% of my back bar, you're saving me a whole lot more than $100 a month. So if you want to see how a manager is going to produce, you need to look at what do you want them to produce. And part of the revenue, part of their compensation package could be, I hate to use the word should, so I'll say could be in bonuses, right? We even did bonuses on not only team retention, but on payroll. We, in my previous salons, in my previous salon owner mind, which was only a few weeks ago, part of our bonus program was also on payroll because my manager, now owner of my business, did the payroll. And so he was very in tune to, and we pay hourly. And so he's very in tune to what's going on in our busy ratio versus how many people are clocked in. And so if you are going to keep our payroll under 43 to 45% of our service sales on our profit and loss statement, I will bonus you. Because by hitting all of these expense benchmarks as well as sales benchmarks, if you are on target, you will have funds that you can allocate towards leadership roles. So if you can't tell by now, I love bonuses because it really shows where a leader's strengths are. And it also pinpoints, based on what's important to us as an owner, where I can help my leader grow and help them to develop skills to either help decrease those expenses or increase our overall revenue. Throw some thoughts or questions that you have in the comment box as we start rounding out our time today. Renee, okay, I have some questions coming in. Yes, people. Okay, is your color back bar separate from other back bar shampoo styling products? Renee, layered answer. Everything I give you is in layers. Okay, Brenna, I'm coming to you. So when I say 6% or below and we got to 4.5%, that was including our color. So that was the shampoo on the back bar, the styling station products, and our color and developer. It's not like the booth bags. It's not the foils. We put that under salon supplies on our P&L. But Renee, to touch base on that, even though our overall back bar budget, let's say, is 6% or less, whatever the dollar amount is of that 6% that becomes our budget to order for the upcoming week, 6% of our service sales, we say, what's that number? That becomes our budget to order the supplies we need for the upcoming week. A big portion of that is going to be color and developer, and a smaller portion of that is going to be your back bar stuff and your styling station stuff. And so I have, again, if you guys want to get more into that and get into budgeting, book a session with me. And look, I do 1 hour sessions, which is like a speed session if you just want to kind of get into one topic that can be encapsulated into an hour. I do a 3-pack session if people have a project they want to work on, like getting your budget in order. That might take a couple of sessions. Or I have a monthly subscription where I work with people on culture, morale, and all of the things we talk about in every Mindset Monday, but that's specific to your business. So Renee, I hope that helped. Brenna, do you do a percentage of the bonus for the bonus? How do you figure out the percentage? Oh, okay. So I think there's different ways you can do it. And I think we can get creative with it. What we did is, as an example, as part of the bonus program for our managers, we had 5 areas that we bonused on. We overall sales, so sales, back bar percentage, pre-booking, staff retention, and payroll. So we had 5 areas. Each area that was hit every single month initiated a $100 bonus. So there was a $500 potential bonus at the end of every month, which is $6,000 a year. So when you look at somebody's base of their compensation base for a leader, then you can say, well, if the base is, I'm just going to throw a number out there. This doesn't mean this is what you should pay. Disclaimer, $50,000 a year, let's say. Well, then you have another $6,000 in potential bonuses, which brings it to $56,000. And then we take care of the phone because you're on call 24 hours a day. Did I say that out loud? And that could be another, $1,200 a year. So then that brings us up to, $58,000 a year, right? So like this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the different benefits. Sandy said, do you coach on selling your business? Of course, Sandy. I've sold 2 of them. Yes, reach out to me. Go to carriedavisconsulting.com and reach out. So on your P&L, are you still within range for salon profit? Brenna, really good question. I mean, our profit should always be that we have a 10% or better profit, right? 10% or better month over month, because that's going to give us profit that we're going to need to then kickstart the upcoming month, right? And as an owner, our owner's pay comes out of profit. If you are not a technician and you are somebody running a company, which you should be able to do and be profitable, I'm here to testify that that is available to everybody. Your payroll comes from the profit. Yeah. So that's why when I talk about we have to stay in budget and in benchmark on our financials so that we can do these things that we want to do and need to do in order to be a sustainable company. If you're out of whack with all of these different expenses, you're not carving out the funds that you're going to need to be able to grow. And you need funds to grow, right? Okay, do I have Aura? Yes, we use Aura in our salon, Brenna. My pre-booking is messed up and I don't know what we're doing wrong. It's so low, but we're so busy and guests are pre-booking. Do you still do it on paper? We did it on paper, but it got fixed in Aura. And I would say reach out to Olivia, reach out to Aura and have them talk you through it. And what we did is we did a test on paper and then we looked at the system and made sure that it matched, and then we ditched the paper. So although we still use paper, because I also track new client pre-book, and we can get into that if you guys want me to do a live on pre-booking, because there's different pre-book titles in my mind of what we should be looking for. So God, you guys, it's already 9:07. Okay. I hope that this helped you. Okay. I hope that today helped you. All right. So my 3 points today, remember, is you should be asking, can I even afford to hire a manager? That should just be step 1, not what should I pay a manager? Okay. Step 2 is salary or hourly and benefits, how to create a compensation package that you are elevating the conversation with people that are moving up, which should be spoken in the words compensation package, not what I'm paying you hourly or what your percentage is going to be. And by the way, never increase somebody's percentage because they're doing an extra job. Never, ever, ever, ever. You can pay them extra, but it should be on a separate line item on their paycheck for that job that they're doing, because when they stop doing that job, that line item goes away. You don't have to talk to them about decreasing their pay, which is a morale bummer for people. So, okay. And then the third thing is bonuses. I love bonuses. They're a great way to have people producing, and it's a great way for us to work on training our leadership. So, Lord, people, this was a fully loaded episode today. If you liked what you heard, please share it, tag your salon owners, and let me know if you need my support. I am here for it. Yes, I sold my salons. Do I have time for consulting? Yes, my book is open for consulting. So hit me up. I'm here. I love you guys. If you have topics for next week, throw it in the comments and I will pick up on it, or DM me. And I hope you have a beautiful week. It was great to see you. Thanks for all the participation. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Love you guys. Ciao, ciao.